Hi, welcome to Psychotherapy 360. I'm Ihnen, licensed mental health counselor, and this is my colleague Christine Wylde, licensed mental health counselor. Chris and I started Psychotherapy 360 to just talk about various issues in psychology and psychotherapy, things we find interesting and things we think you might find interesting too. So thanks for joining us today. Today we thought we'd talk about how it is we decided to become therapists.
Always interested in helping. It just was second nature to me. And so when I was in high school, I was nominated to be a peer counselor and got some training, and in doing that really found that I really liked psychology and psychotherapy, and we learned some really basic skills. And the whole purpose of the training was to help put people in the high school who other kids would want to talk to. Maybe they wouldn't go to the guidance counselor, but they would maybe come talk to me or some of the other people who got trained. I also studied philosophy, so I did a double major. And I found that philosophy was really cool. Ann is also a philosophy major.
That's right, I am.
And it was great because you could think a lot, and it was very creative, and it kind of was just like candy for my mind, and it just was like I ate it up. And I remember going to a philosophy conference with a good friend of mine. There's all these highfalutin philosophers from all over the country, and they were in this seminar talking about the attributes of God. It was the Christian Philosophers Conference. And I remember being there thinking these brilliant minds were up there like trying to discuss and argue for the existence of the attributes of God. And I remember going out, we were in LA, and being outside on the break with my friend and thinking, you know, looking out over LA at the smog and the traffic, and, you know, knowing that we're in LA with tons of people and crime and problems. And I kind of shook my head and I looked at Elizabeth and I said, I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is for me, because even though it was really great for my mind, it wasn't practical enough. For me, there wasn't enough heart.
So each step along the way, when you were seeing if something was a fit or not, what tells you, what were the things that would help you see how well something fit you? Was it a feeling? Was it...
That's a really good question. I think it was a feeling of dissatisfaction.
This doesn't feel right. This feels better to think about going this way, so I'll go this way and see how it feels.
Yeah, it was like, this is okay, but it was not complete. I think that's what it was. It was sort of, was like, you know, again, all you software testers out there, which I'm sure there's a lot of you here in Seattle, that's some really cool stuff, very interesting stuff. You know, you're problem solving, you're using technology, it's great. But for me, there wasn't enough people contact. It wasn't enough to think I'm thinking of the end user.
Right. It's like what you were saying about heart and compassion. You know, without the heart, it felt incomplete.
For me.
For you.
Because
Right.
I think that that's, like I said, part of how I've always felt. That's part of me. Like, Beethoven probably could not think about music. He probably went to bed and was like, another thing in my head.
Damn symphonies.
I want to sleep. You know, and for me it's like...
Well, he said that in German, of course. I think. He spoke German, right?
Das ist nicht gut.
Oh my God, she speaks German.
So for me it was just like, I have to, this is not complete.
I'm really struck by several elements in your story. We have a lot in common.
Do we?
I know we've talked about this before, but I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy.
She's a thinker too.
Yeah. Well, and I also worked in the software industry. Well, I have always been very interested in the mind. Why people think what they think. I just always found the mind fascinating, even when I was really young. And the other piece of it is I enjoy people. I was like the most popular babysitter in my neighborhood because I liked the kids and I liked to play with them, you know.
Nice.
I found them interesting, and the way their minds worked interesting. And
did the kids like you?
Yeah, I was a popular babysitter.
Not just the parents?
No,
Popular
the kids
with the
liked me
parents,
because
or
I played with them.
Popular with the kids.
Right.
So that's really popular.
Now, my competition in my neighborhood was these other girls who would just turn on the TV and tell the kids to shut up, but I would play with them because I thought it was fun. And for as long as I can remember, I've always felt like it was important to help people, and I've always enjoyed being helpful. I took a class in psychology in 10th grade. And we read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Wow.
And we read I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. And I learned about humanistic psychology and psychodynamic psychology and
We would have been
behavioral
good
psychology.
friends.
And I loved
Yeah.
it. I just lapped it up, and that I decided right then and there that I wanted to be a psychologist when I grew up. I really liked humanistic psychology. I really liked the Maslow's hierarchy. I thought that was such an interesting way to organize your understanding of what life is like and what people's needs are and how things I decided I wanted to get a degree in psychology. So I show up at the counselor's office and say, I would like to major in psychology. And the counselor said, oh, you'll never get a job with that.
Really? The counselor said that?
University of California counselor, by the way. And I was so compliant. See, this is good. I've learned about things. I was a very compliant person. I was, you know,
I can't believe the counselor said that to you.
She said, you never get a job with that. So, and this is the funny thing, so I picked philosophy instead. But I didn't know what to do because all I was interested in was psychology.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I like philosophy. It's interesting. It's also about the mind and understanding how we think and how we reason and how we put ideas together. And it was very interesting. So I did. I got a degree in philosophy. And I kind of justified it to myself. This was probably one of my first really vivid experiences of rationalization. One of the defense mechanisms. I said, well, this is good preparation for law school, and being a lawyer is a good job.
Yes.
I had no interest in being a lawyer. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Oh, excuse me.
Financial counseling.
I did financial counseling.
And enjoyed that.
And I enjoyed it. And just like you, and this is one of the similarities, I enjoyed the helping people part, but it just felt like my job was a little bit of the helping people part, and a lot of it was paperwork, and a lot of it was repetitive. And I was really interested in really relating to them more how they feel about what's going on, helping them feel better about their lives, not just fixing their problem over a period of a few weeks and sending them on their way.
Right.
And I got a job at a wonderful software company, WRQ, doing tech support, and then I did training and I did technical writing, and it was a really fun place to work, and there was a great corporate culture, and it was a fun job. But again, there was this part of me that always wanted to be a psychologist. And so I got to a place in my life, I turned 40, and I started regretting that I never became what I was calling a psychologist then.
So it's like you knew what in 10th grade.
I knew in 10th grade what I wanted to do. And by the time I turned 40, I was starting to be really sorry that I didn't do it. So I went back to school. And I also went to Antioch and got my master's degree. And I went part-time and worked for most of it. At the end, I just had school. And when I got out, I really wanted to be a therapist. I didn't want to do anything else with my degree, so I started a private practice. And I'm very glad I did that, because this is... I was right. When I was in 10th grade, I was right. This is what I wanted to do with my life. And yet there are real benefits, I think, to taking the kind of path that I took, because I came into this job in my mid-40s with all this life experience, with having raised a child, or almost raised a child. He was a teenager.
Right.
And a lot of just the wisdom that comes from being on this earth, and a lot of confidence and self-esteem that I didn't have when I was younger. I think if I'd done this in my 20s, I probably would have gotten burned out by now. And instead, I look at the work I do, and just like you, I come into my office and I think of what a privilege it is to do this work and how much I enjoy it. And I can see myself doing this as long as my brain holds out, anyway.
Knock on wood.
We won't ask Chris what she thinks of whether my brain is holding out, but I can see myself doing this at least part-time, for the rest of my life. I enjoy it. Thank you for joining us.
Well, keep checking in. We'll be putting these up on the web every now and then. If you have any thoughts or any questions, you certainly can email Ann or I. Right?
Yeah, or you can email psychotherapy360@gmail.com.
That's right. We do have.
We have an email address.
Absolutely.
I love that.
That's great.
We'd love to hear your comments and questions.